Hey guys, can you get me?
Yes.
Just confirm, please.
Can get you.
Thanks. So yeah, let's just start. Huh?
Okay, nice.
All right. So
It's ready. You can go and get it.
Who are we going to find?
Faith
Who's Faith?
and Tishima.
Who's Tishma? I don't know them.
My roommates.
you guys are making noise, huh?
You can give me.
Yes, they'll give.
Let me just say one thing. Shabogo.
All right. So last time we did some introduction to ISLM. So today I want us to at least do something, huh? Than doing nothing. So let's just try to discuss this and then, yeah. So that next time we start looking at questions. So next time will be Sunday, but I don't know. We should try by all means to if possible, Sunday should be strict 1 hour 30, huh? Like 1 hour 30, because we have to do a lot of questions. So I'll be kicked out. Hey. So I'm teaching. I'll call you when I'm done. All right, I believe you can get me now. Just confirm, guys. All right, thank you. Thanks. All right, so let's just start. So last time we did the ISLM. So today we're just going to explain the fluctuations with the ISLM model, or what are some of the issues that could actually lead to the fluctuations with ISLM model, and if they are there, how, like, what's their influence, okay, when it comes to real life situations. All right. So last time we just looked at the ISLM curve. We looked at the interaction that exists between the ISLM curve, and then we said that the IS basically talks about the relationships between income and interest rates that actually exist in the goods and services market, and then that the LM shows the relationship that exists between income and the rate of interest that exists in the goods and services market. Sorry, in the money market. Sorry, and then we said that, well, the total level of income generated from the IS, or from the goods and services market, must equal the total level of income that is generated from the okay. So the total level of income generated from the goods market must be equal to the total level of income generated in the money market. And we then said that, well, for this to occur, there should be an equilibrium rate of interest that is going to equilibrate these two markets. Okay, so the intersection of the IS curve and the LM curve determines the level of national income. So the interaction of the IS curve and the LM curve determine the total level of income. Okay. All right. And then we said that when one of these curves shifts, okay, then the short-run equilibrium of the economy is going to change, and the national income is going to fluctuate. So now, today, what we want to understand is how fiscal policy shifts the IS curve and changes the short-run equilibrium. But of course, our analysis today is going to be based on the short run and the long run. Okay, so we are going to combine these two time frames, the short run and the long run, and then we're going to look at the impact of fiscal policy in the short run and in the long run. Like what happens when there's some fiscal policy changes. Okay, and then possibly I'll be happy if we'll be able to actually relate this to what is happening now here in our own economy. All right, so what we are trying to look at today is just to understand how fiscal policy is going to shift the IS curve. Okay, how fiscal policy is going to shift the IS curve. Of course, in the short run, but of course, as I've said, we're going to try to tally the short run and the long run. We're going to try to tally the short run and the long run. All right. So now we understand that fiscal policy, one of the major components of fiscal policy is the government expenditure. Okay. So fiscal policy contains these two: government expenditure and the taxation programs. So we understand that if there are some changes, okay, if there are some changes in the in one of the components of fiscal policy, we must then expect the IS curve to shift, because understand that basically consumption, investment, government expenditure, and taxation programs are all part and parcel of the IS curve, meaning that if any of those components changes, we must then expect some changes in the IS curve. And basically the change that I'm talking about here is the whole, like shift, the shift of the curve. It could be upward shift or downward shift. It all depends with the nature of the change in one of those variables. Was it a positive change or a negative change? All right, so now let's try to understand what is going to happen to the IS curve if there's a shift. So if there's a change, a positive change in government expenditure. So what is going to happen if, for example, the government today decides to increase its expenditure? What is going to happen to the IS curve? And to understand that the IS curve shows us nothing but the relationship that exists between the level of income, in this case national income, and interest rates. Okay, so what is going to happen to this relationship if there's an increase in government expenditure? All right, so when there's an increase in government expenditure, we understand that the total level of income is going to increase by the total level of income is going to increase by the change in government expenditure times the multiplier. Okay, times the multiplier. So if that is the case, all right, so I'm saying that if there's a positive change, or let me just say if there's a change in government expenditure, we understand that that is going to change the level of income. I'm using the word change. So if there's a change in government expenditure, then this then is going to lead to a change in income. And the change in income is going to be the change in government expenditure times the multiplier. So in case you're wondering what is happening, let me just say something. You need, let's do this. Can you get me, guys? Can you get me?
Yes, Mr. George.
Hey, Natasha, what's wrong? What's up? Oh, okay. All right. Let me just try to. Don't know what's popping in the building here. All right. So just confirm if you're able to see the whiteboard. Please confirm. I've got issues with Airtel today, so I don't know. Confirm if you're able to see the whiteboard.
I can see it.
Thank you. Thank you. You have saved us. All right. So what I'm saying is, if there's a change in government expenditure, okay. So if there's a change in government expenditure, and we're assuming that this change is a positive change, then we understand that the change in income, okay, due to change in government expenditure is going to be the change in government expenditure times, okay, so times the multiplier. Okay, so times the multiplier, and this is equal to, this is equal to change in government expenditure divided by, what is the formula for the multiplier? Okay. It's gonna be something like this, huh? Okay. So what this means is that this is the same as this, because what we're saying is, in case you're wondering, it's the same thing like this, times 1 over 1 minus sorry, 1 minus the marginal propensity to consume. This is P. Alright, so this is the same as that. So what we're saying is, if there is a change in government expenditure, an upward or a positive change in government expenditure, what we expect is the income to increase, okay, by changing G times the multiplier. And if this is true, mind you, last time we said that the IS curve, okay, we said that the IS curve is nothing but this, okay. So the IS curve is equal to, we said that is equal to this, consumption plus investment plus government expenditure. Okay, so now that there's a change in this component, we must expect this whole thing to increase. We must then expect the IS curve to increase if there is a positive increase in government expenditure. Are we there, guys? So this is what is happening here. This is what is happening. Now that we have got an increase in government expenditure, what we must then expect is the increase or the shift of the whole curve, the whole IS curve, to shift upward. Alright, and that is what is being depicted here. So initially, we had the level of income somewhere there. Let's call this Y0. Okay, we had Y0 there, and we have R0 there as the equilibrium rate of interest. But then after an increase in government expenditure, we then expect the whole IS curve to shift upwards along the LM curve. So the IS curve is going to shift from IS1 to IS prime there. And because of that, because of an increase in government expenditure, we know the multiplier effect. An increase in government expenditure increases people's income, and then people are going to start spending more. The more they spend, the more firms respond to that increase in demand by increasing output. And because of that, we then expect the level of output to increase from Y0 to, let's say, Y1 somewhere there, that arrow there. And because of that, interest rates are going to respond by this increase in demand. So interest rates are going to respond by increasing from R0 to R1 there. Are you there, guys? Just confirm if we're together. I don't want to start going back because of network issues. Are we together there?
Just kindly explain again.
Okay. So what I'm saying is this. We have this. Okay? We have that. We have this. So initially, we were, let's say, we had that as our R0, huh? And then we had that level of income. Let's call this. And then let's call this Y0. All right. This. So I've got our IS1 here. Okay, so I've got our IS1 there, and then this is our LM curve. And since here it is just government expenditure that has increased, and we understand that government expenditure is the component of the IS curve, not the LM curve. Then if that is the case, we shouldn't expect the LM curve to shift, because none of the components of the LM curve have increased or has changed. All right. So it is on the government expenditure that has increased, and government expenditure is part and parcel of the IS curve. All right. So now that there's an increase in government expenditure, what we expect is the curve to shift upwards like that, like that. Okay. So because of this increase in government expenditure, okay, let's try to relate. Right? Let's say there's an increase. The government today has decided to build what? Bridges, since they're good at that. Let's say they have decided to increase expenditure through an increase in through, let's say, they want to build a bridge or something. Because of that, they are going to pump in money. The treasury is going to release money to sponsor or to fund that particular project, and that money is going to be used to pay for, let's say, to buy for, let's say, the machinery, cement, blocks, everything that is going to be needed. And on top of that, they're going to pay the workers. and because of that, there is more like an increase in the money that is circulating, through an increase in government expenditure. Okay, so because of that, people are now going to have money, so they're not going to start spending. So the more they spend, the more firms are going to respond to that increase in demand from the consumers that have gotten money from this particular project. All right. So because of that, firms are going to respond by producing more. And what we are seeing then is because of that increase in demand, okay, resulting from an increase in government expenditure, the IS curve, which shows the relationship between income and interest rates in the goods and services market, is going to shift upward. Okay, it's going to shift upward. So what we're witnessing is an increase in income from Y to Y1. So from Y0 to Y1, and as a response to that, interest rates are also going to increase from R0 to R1 like that. So this is what happens when there's an increase in government expenditure to the IS curve. So we expect the IS curve to shift from the initial IS curve to another IS curve, and because of that, we expect income to increase. Okay, we expect income to increase. And if income increases, well, it's okay, it's nice, because, well, output has increased, GDP has increased. All right. So this is what happens when there's a positive increase in one of the fiscal policy components. All right. Are we together there?
No, yes.
No, yes. Who is saying no? And why? Walia.
Yes.
I didn't get that.
I'm lost.
You are lost. Why are you lost? Where?
On the same diagram.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're trying to analyze here is what happens to the IS curve if there's an increase in government expenditure. Okay. That is what we're trying to analyze here. So what we are saying is, if we had this, okay, this is our LM curve, and then this is our IS curve, and then this is our initial level of income, which we are calling Y0, and that is our initial level of interest rate, which we are calling R0 time. And then if there's an increase in government expenditure, we expect the IS curve to shift upward like that. Okay, we expect the IS curve to shift like that to IS2 like that. Okay, and if that is true, then the level of income must also increase from Y0 to another level, because there is now an increase in demand arising from more money that people are having. Okay, and as a response, we then expect interest rates to increase to that level. Are you still lost, Wadia?
No, I get it.
Okay.
It was only confusing with how the LM curve points were also moving.
The LM curve is not changing here. It's not changing. It's just the IS which is shifting upwards along the LM. You are there, huh?
Yes.
Yes, because the LM should not change, because none of its components is changing. It's only the IS curve components that are changing. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, cool. So what I'm saying is the IS curve shifts to the right by changing G times the multiplier, which then raises income and the rate of interest. Okay, so please, this is what happens when there's expansionary fiscal policy. So whenever there's expansionary fiscal policy, what you and I must expect is the shift in the IS curve to the right. Okay, and as a result of that shift, we must then expect output to increase from the initial level to some other level, which must be greater than the initial one. All right. The chain is, if there's an increase in income today, people are going to spend. And the more they spend, what you spend becomes someone's income. And the moment it becomes someone's income, that person is also going to spend. So the chain continues like that. So you're going to find that the initial change in government expenditure is going to actually less than the overall impact of that initial change to the economy. All right. So what we've done so far is what happens when there is expansionary fiscal policy. What happens to our model? So these models, the same models that economists, Bank of Zambia uses. Okay, these are the same models that great economies like the US use. Same models, because economics is the same. What depends maybe the level of applicability. Okay, so these are some of the things that helps economists to come up with policies, for example, because they're going to say, okay, if we want to increase government expenditure by this amount, what is the impact of that? Okay, what is the impact of that? Is this going to be positive or negative? And if it's going to be positive, to what extent? Okay, all right. Let's then look at how monetary policy is going to. Is there a question? I'm sorry, Natasha, I can't get anything. Natasha, I can't get anything. Your net is bad, you are bumping, your voice is a bit low. Try to type. I'll wait for your message. Try to type.
Mr. Can you get me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so my question is, currently looking at Zambia, there's been increased government spending, right? Like in terms of building roads developments.
Yeah.
So we take it that there's government spending.
Yeah.
So that our IS team has shifted to the right, or it's shifted to the right?
Yeah, that is what is expected. But then the question must be, are we really producing? Yes, there's an increase in investments and everything. But the question is, are we really producing as a country right now? So the model is telling us that if there is such, there should be an increase in output. Yes, true. But then the question that you and I must ask ourselves is, are we really, are we really, our behavior, is it really, tallying with what is expected to happen? Okay? Because initially, yes, there's an increase in government expenditure, but then the question is, well, do we have the capacity to produce for the model to work for us? Because initially, let's say, what are we producing right now? Nothing. Roads, who is eating roads? Nobody. Okay, so that's why if you have, I for one, I'm against this whole idea of infrastructure. I'm not really against, but then are they sustainable? Are they really helping us to increase our GDP? Or maybe we're looking at it from the nominal point of view. Because if I look at it from the nominal point of view, it's okay. With nominal GDP, yeah, it's okay. Roads, nice. Bridges, yeah, they're nice. But then when we're looking at it from the real GDP point of view, that is nothing. Because that thing there is adding zero economic value. Zero economic value. Because the only thing that we're getting from roads, maybe it's road tax, toll gates. But then the question is, that thing that is there, what economic value is it adding? So that is the question. Yes, there's an increase in government expenditure, but then where is output increasing? Okay? So yeah, you can go ahead with your question now. I just wanted to comment on that.
Okay. Alright, I think you've sort of answered the question. I wanted to ask, what good is it adding to the economy? But then you said the model is we're producing as an economy, and currently there's nothing we're producing apart from increased government spending, which is pointless because of the roads that are being built. There's no value. Looking at it at a real point of view, not a So yeah, I think you've answered my question because I was about to ask what good is there of like government spending, like is it increasing, like is it in the model to the right or not? And then you said I don't know if an economy is producing and we're not producing as a country, so that answers my question.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, those are some of the issues that we must think. Yes, Chris. Yes, Chris.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
I'm a bit behind.
Where?
Yeah, what do you really mean when you say the roads that we are seeing being constructed have no real economic value?
Are you generating money from the bridges? If yes, how much?
Are we talking about bridges or roads?
No. For me, I'm talking about these investments that we are seeing. Bridges, not really roads. I'm talking about bridges.
Oh, okay.
With the roads, no. The roads, at least, there's this ministry. What ministry? Ministry of Infrastructure, toll gates. Money is being generated. We just don't know where the money is used. That's the problem. But anyway, it's a debate, huh? Let's continue. Unless if they are... Alright, so that's one of the things that, I mean, yeah. Anyways, then let's look at monetary policy and the LMK, huh? Monetary policy. Should we increase money supply or not? Should we reduce money supply or not? Should we distribute 1.6 thousands or not? That's the question. So we're going to analyze that from the monetary policy side. Huh? So let's say... Huh? Natasha.
Before you proceed to the monetary policy, quick question: is it not just from looking at? Is it both in the long run and the short run, like the change, or it's just in the short run?
No, we are going to analyze that. We are going to analyze that as we proceed. There's a section for that.
All right. Okay.
All right. Yes, Kennedy. Kennedy Mumba
Mr. George.
Isaac.
So, okay, with our current economic situation, I want to get your opinion. So, what type of investment do you think our government should undertake to sustain development, apart from building bridges and stuff? What do you think?
The best investments must be those investments that are going to help people be employed for a longer period of time. Okay, so instead of distributing monies, for example, to the dancers and everything, why not investing in, let's say, investing in education? Okay, we invest in education. We make sure our people have proper education. Why not building hospitals? How many doctors are there that are not employed, and yet people are dying because they're not being attended to? Okay, when was that? Should be a month or so when doctors, I don't know a number of doctors that were protesting. So those are some of the things that we must work on. Let us come up with proper investments that are going to enable our people to be employed. Why should we have 1 billion doctors not employed when we are distributing monies? Why not building good hospitals? When was that? Should be some 2 weeks ago when a doctor was complaining that the dialysis section has got no equipment. Those are the things that I'm talking about. Okay, so it's about us having a mindset of sustainable type of investment, not investing for the sake of gaining popularity. No. Because such investments are short term. For example, if your uncle is working bridge up, is he still working now? The money is done. The project is over. Okay, so those are some of the things that I for one propose. Okay, but of course you can have your own. But yeah, those are some of the things that I pray for. All right, Isaac.
Okay. It's clear.
All right, let's continue. All right, so then the question is, must we increase money supply or not? Okay, so let's say there's an increase in money supply, huh? So consider an increase in money supply and understand that from the money market side, if there's an increase in money supply, we expect the LM curve to shift to the right. Okay, to shift to the right. And now, since there's a positive relationship between output and rate of interest in the did I say what? No. So if there's an increase in money supply, what we don't expect is the shift in the LM curve to the right. And since now money has become well abundant, we then expect the price for money. And what is the price for money? It is rate of interest. We then expect the price for money to go down, because it's more like this good has become abundant. So now that it has become abundant, its cost must go down. So when there's an increase in money supply, the LM curve shifts to the right. And if the LM curve shifts to the right, we then expect the rate of interest to reduce. And now, since the rate of interest has reduced, output, no doubt about it, output is going to increase. So output is going to increase from the initial level of output to a higher level of output. So the LM curve shifts downwards and lowers the rate of interest, which raises people's income. Why? Because when the central bank increases the supply of money, people have more money than they want to hold at the prevailing rate of interest. So what happens is this: if there's an increase in money supply today, okay, people are going to have more money than they would want to have. Okay, people are going to have more money than they would want to have. So the what is happening is this: it's more like you are all craving to have sugar, but then from nowhere, Mazabuka Sugar, whatever, is saying we are going to start distributing free sugar. The price for sugar is going to go down. So that is what is happening here. Okay, now that the central bank has increased the flow, the supply of money, we must expect the price for money to reduce. And what is this price? It is the rate of interest. And now that the rate of interest has reduced, we must expect more investments to take place, because the cost of borrowing has reduced. And mind you, money is everywhere, so I can invest. Okay, I can invest. So because of that, output is expected to increase. All right, so whenever there's an increase in money supply, the LM curve is going to shift to the right, and because of that, the rate of interest is going to reduce. And now that the rate of interest rate has reduced, well, we must expect output to increase. All right, so because when the central bank increases the money supply, people have more money than they would want to hold at the prevailing rate of interest, and as a result, they start depositing this extra money in banks or use it to buy bonds. Okay, so now that you have more money at your disposal, you may think of, well, let me invest, let me deposit this money in banks, which means now there's more money circulating, and because of this, investment is now possible, even you and I that are not able to meet mortgage issues and everything, we are now able to. And this is what led to the 2000 somewhere there, crisis in the US, when the interest rates were very low, such that people were very free to buy bonds and get mortgage, do their houses, dream houses and everything. And then from nowhere, because of the increase in supply of housing units, they found that the prices went down. Okay, making some of them to fail to pay back the loans that they got from banks. Okay, and so the Federal Bank of the US had to come in, and then we see the collapse of some banks and everything. Oh, it's nice. Go read about that, huh? Actually, there's a documentary. Just go on YouTube, search for this. There's a good documentary about that. These are some of the things that you should be wasting time on watching than watching the money heist. Okay, so the interest rate then falls until people are willing to hold all the extra money that the central bank has created. So because of this increase in supply in terms of money, the interest rate is going to fall to such levels where people are now willing to hold all the extra monies that they have, because the opportunity cost of you holding that money has gone extremely low. You don't lose nothing anyway. So it's better I hold my money. So this brings the money market to a new equilibrium, which is there now. The lower rate of interest in turn has ramifications for the goods market. So a lower interest rate is going to stimulate planned investment, which increases planned expenditure, which is going to increase production, which is going to increase the income. Okay, so what we are seeing here is, because of that initial increase in money supply, the rate of interest is going to go down, and that is going to induce people. Okay, it's going to induce people to actually invest more. And as they invest in more, output is going to increase more and more and more. And as output is increasing, we expect people's income to also increase. So pay attention to this statement here. Very important. A lower interest rate stimulates planned investment. So all those investments that you had planned, because now the rate of interest is low, well, it's easy for you and I to borrow and make use of the low interest rate, take advantage of the situation, and that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. You take advantage of the problem that is there, and you understand that in this case the problem is the lower rate of interest. So take advantage of it, borrow more, invest more, pay back as soon as possible before they play around with the rate of interest. So you go to the banks, borrow more, build more, invest more, and make sure you have to invest in those investments that are going to give you money back as soon as possible, how to pay back before the rate of interest is manipulated. Okay, so because of that, planned expenditure is also going to increase, and because planned expenditure is increasing, we expect production also to increase, and because production has increased, we then expect income to also increase. Are we there? Are we together there?
Yes, we are.
Thanks. So now, the ISLA model helps us or shows us that monetary policy influences income by changing the rate of interest. So this conclusion sheds light on our analysis of monetary policy. So now, here we've showed that in the short run, so someone was asking about
Mr. Longo.
No, Matambo. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question I wanted to ask earlier, but okay, it's fine.
Go ahead, ask.
What did Mr. this bank governor, Mfunga, he recently announced that the Bank of Zambia has maintained its monetary policy at 8.5% rate.
Mm-hmm.
So in the second quarter of this 2021. So what did he mean by that?
And he said they have maintained the monetary policy. What?
They maintained the monetary policy rate.
Oh, what he meant
at 8%. I mean 8.5%.
Oh, the monetary policy rate is the rate at which you can borrow. Let me put it in that way, in simpler terms. So what he meant was, I believe he didn't talk about the money supply and everything. Otherwise, if that's what he meant, well, it's a debatable fact. Okay. So what he meant was the rate at which banks can borrow from them has been maintained at 8%, whatever rate was that. I didn't pay attention to that. Yeah, so it's basically the cost of borrowing. Not you borrowing from them, but banks borrowing from them. And thanks for that. All right.
Thank you.
I have to follow that. I have to follow that one. I mean, you could data page now go website the Bank of Zambia. Yeah. All right. So. Okay, cool. So now, what we're trying to understand is, in the short run, when prices are sticky, I think we understand that in the short run, prices are going to be sticky because there's no way that if there's an increase in demand today, you're going to increase your price today. So that is why we're saying prices are sticky in the short run. So in the short run, when prices are sticky, an expansion in money supply is just going to raise income. Okay? So because prices are sticky, when there's an increase in money supply, the only thing that is going to happen is raising people's income. Okay? But then we didn't discuss how a monetary expansion is going to induce greater spending on goods and services, which is what we call the monetary transmission mechanism. So basically, what monetary transmission mechanism says is that when there's an increase in money supply, as time goes by, or in the long run, you're going to discover that that initial increase in money supply is going to lead to greater spending on goods and services. Okay, so meaning that if the government is for example, not the government, if BOC increases money supply today, it's not like there and then. It's not like it's an there and then thing, like just after increasing money supply overnight, and then we started seeing all these issues, negative. What happens is that when there's an increase in money supply today, as time goes by, in the long run, we're going to understand that that initial increase or that initial injection is going to induce greater spending on goods and services. So that whole process is what is called the monetary transmission mechanism. Okay, so what our model shows is that an increase in the money supply lowers the rate of interest, which is going to stimulate investment and thereby expanding the demand for goods and services. I think we understand, because that is why we had to look at the relationship between investment and the rate of interest, that negative thing. So because interest rates have gone down because of the increase in money supply, which is here, initially the rate of interest was there, but now it's there. So because of that increase in money supply from there to there, we are seeing that the rate of interest is reducing from there to there. And now because the rate of interest or the cost of borrowing has gone down, we must expect to see more investment taking place. We must expect investment to increase. And now that investment has increased, we expect output to also increase. And because output has increased, well, output is just equal to income. Because what you produce is what you sell. So we are seeing that because of this initial increase in money supply, all these are now popping up. Okay? All these are now popping up. So what you and I have to understand is that when there's, you just have to know this chain. Just have to know this chain. An increase in money supply is going to lead the ISKF the LMKF to shift to right, which is going to force interest rates to go down. And now that the cost of borrowing has gone down, we must expect you and I to demand more of investment. And then because of an increase in investment, we expect output to increase, because investment is part and parcel of GDP thing. And then because of the increase in GDP, we must expect people's income to increase. But then the question is, are we talking about real or nominal? That is a debate. Okay? Are we talking about real or nominal? Alright. So now let's combine these two, ISLM. We link them to demand. Someone's mic is on.
Yeah, it's Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
So I can look at the question. The money supply. The money supply is okay, fine. The money supply. So the money supply is it cause inflation? Okay, money supply, like increase money supply is good and it's bad to an economy at the same time.
It depends with the level.
It depends on the level. So when there's constant supply of money, it means increased money supply is not good, right?
Yeah, it's not good. Any economist is going to tell you that if you have excess money, the repercussions are dangerous. Zimbabwe.
In our country currently, is there an increase in money supply, or what's going on?
What's going on is what's going on is what you and I know. I don't want to say anything about that.
supply and there's a constant, there's an increased money supply, and then supply itself is not happening in the country. Supplying of goods and services is not happening, it's, I don't know, constant.
Okay, what I can comment on that is we all know what's going on. Okay, I'm not a politician, but we all know what's going on, and we understand from economics that if you increase supply of money, you are just increasing demand for goods and services. And then here's a situation where you're increasing the demand for goods and services amidst fixed supply of goods and services. I don't know if you're getting the point there. Okay, so that is what is going on. So what we then expect is not an increase in output. No GDP is going to increase. Which GDP? From where? Okay, GDP from where? Because we are not producing. So how do you expect GDP to increase? The only thing that is going to increase is the price. It's the price. Because we are increasing demand amidst fixed supply. Okay? You are increasing demand amidst fixed supply. So what is going to change is just the level of price. It's just going to go up. And what is that? That's inflation. So, yes, there are times when increasing money supply is okay, but then it depends with the response. The response between these two, IS and LM. Are they responding accordingly? Okay? Are they responding accordingly? If one of them is stuck somewhere, guys, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
The shifting of the LM curve to the right would mean that, does the LM curve shift to the right whether or not there's a fixed supply of goods and services? It's just mandatory that when there's an increased money supply, the LM automatically shifts. So there has to be a condition, maybe if there's a fixed supply or if there's there isn't a fixed supply.
No, it's supposed to shift. Shifting is supposed to.
It's mandatory, so there's no okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Okay, so let's link these two, ISLM to demand, huh? Let's try to cruise, huh? So what we've noticed from ISLM diagrams is that the rate of interest and output were on there, so we have got R there and Y there, right? Okay, now we are going to bring a third variable, which is the price, into our analysis. We can accomplish this by linking both these graphs. So let's try to link these two graphs. So basically what we're trying to understand is to derive the aggregate demand curve from the ISLM model. That's what we want. So please guys, pay attention, because Mr. Banda, so please pay attention. So to derive the aggregate demand curve, we are going to start at that particular point. We have got the rate of interest R0 and output Y0 there. Let's put Y0 there. So we have got equilibrium in the goods and the service market and the money market there. You have got an equilibrium there. You've got an equilibrium there, right there. And then we are saying, okay, at that prevailing equilibrium, or at that equilibrium there, we have the level of output that is demanded, Y0, at a price level P1. Let me restart. I know someone is wondering what's going on. So the whole thing is starting from the ISLA model. So the ISLA model, equilibrium is holding at point A. At that point, there is an equilibrium rate of interest and the equilibrium level of output there. And this same equilibrium level of output is what is demanded, because this is what is happening, is happening now. So the level of output that you have produced now is the very level of output that is going to be demanded now, right? So because of that, that level of output is being demanded there at the prevailing price P1, because at each given point in time, there is always a price for anything. Okay, so we've got a price there. That's why there is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay, so there's a price attached to this level of output there. All right, now let's suppose that there's an increase in the price level from P1 to P2. Okay, so now that there's an increase in the price level from P1 to P2, we expect the people's purchasing power to reduce. And the people's purchasing power is depicted by the LM curve. Remember the real money demand? The real money demand? M over P. Okay? So now that it's like this. M over P. So now that the P has increased, we expect this whole thing to reduce. Okay? We expect this whole thing to reduce because money supply is fixed. Money supply is fixed. So the only thing that is changing in this case is the price level. So now that the price level has increased, we then expect the real money demand or the real money demand, the purchasing power to reduce. So because of that, the purchasing power reduces from that one to that level there because of an increase in price from P1 to P2. Okay? So an increase in the price level P lowers the value of real money balances and the output, shifting the LM leftward to point B. So the whole thing is happening because of an increase in the price level. Initially, all was well there at point A, demanding quantity of point A there at the prevailing price P1 there. All was well. And then from nowhere, prices have increased, thereby reducing your purchasing power. Your real money demand has reduced. The purchasing power of your money has reduced from point A to point B. Excuse? Okay? So because of that, it's more like now that your purchasing power has reduced. Okay? Now that the purchasing power has reduced, the value of money has increased. Okay? The value of money has increased. And what is the value of money in this case? That is being depicted by the rate of interest. So now because your purchasing power has reduced, the rate of interest is going to increase. Since rate of interest has increased, we know that investment is going to decrease as it just got more costly to take on various investment projects. Okay? So the whole chain is starting from point A. All was well, point A. Prices, okay. That was the prevailing demand. Now, from nowhere, the prices have increased from P1 to P2, which reduces your purchasing power. And that is just going to shift the LM curve upwards to the left. And because the LM curve has shifted to the left, we expect the rate of interest, which is the cost of borrowing, to increase. I mean, now that the cost of borrowing has increased, we then expect investment to reduce. Because initially we were able to approach a bank at a prevailing rate of interest, let's say 2%, but now it's now 5%. You can't manage. So investment is going to reduce. Okay? So now that investment has reduced, well, output is expected to fall. So from why not? So from that level of output to that level of output. The reason is because of that increase in the rate of interest, which is now forcing you and I not to be able to demand investment. Okay, so we then expect output to reduce from that level to that level. All right. So I am saying that this sets off a multiplier process. Since because of that negative change in investment, we are going to witness a negative change in output, and the negative change in output is going to trigger negative change in consumption. Okay. So what is happening is there is this funny chain. Okay, there is this funny chain. So initially, there was just an increase in the price level. Because of an increase in price level, which is inflation in this case, because of an increase in the price level, people's purchasing power reduces. Okay, so because of a reduction in people's purchasing power, we then expect the value of money to increase. Because what is happening in this case? Let me remove the word inflation. Okay, so because of an increase in the price level, your purchasing power has reduced. Now that your purchasing power has reduced, it's more like the cost of living has increased. So because of that, the rate of interest is going to respond by increasing, as we are seeing here. So the rate of interest is going to increase from that level to that level. I mean, now that there's an increase in the rate of interest, it's becoming more costly for you and I to venture in investment projects. Okay, and because of that negative change in investment arising from an increase in the rate of interest, we expect output to reduce. Okay, we expect output to reduce because investment is a component of output, GDP. So because of this negative, we must expect output also to increase by negative. And because of that negative change in output, output is equal to income anyway. And now that your income is reducing, because your purchasing power is reducing, so your income is reducing, you are going to consume less. So we are going to cut all those funny trips to Siavonga because your income is reducing. Okay, East Park, cutting consumption, you're reducing consumption. So what you're going to see is a movement up the IS curve. So what is happening is the IS curve is just stuck. Okay, so we are just moving along the IS curve, going up there like that. So that's why there's a movement from A to B. Okay, so the positive change in the price level triggers a sequence of events that end with a negative change in output, which is just the inverse relationship that is going to define the downward sloping aggregate demand curve, which is true. So we can then conclude that indeed the aggregate demand curve shows a negative relationship between output and price level, because initially when the price was there, you are demanding that level of output. Now that the price has increased from P1 to P2, output has reduced, which is a typical nature of demand. Typical nature of demand. Negative relationship between quantity demanded and the price levels. Are we together? Remember, I've been kicked out. Okay, we're still together. Alright. So that is how we derive the aggregate demand curve from the ISLM model. That is how we derive. So please. The whole thing is starting from A. Everything was okay. Let's call A maybe the natural level of output. When all is well, it's gold all over. Those days when a kaunda, when everything was provided, our parents busy singing, dancing to kaunda songs, and everything was okay. Everything was okay. And then from nowhere, boom, those measures that were hammered on us by IMF, World Bank, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what we are seeing here is that there's an increase in the price level, and because of that, purchasing power reduces, and because there's a reduction in the purchasing power, interest rates are going to respond by increasing. Boom! Because of an increase in the rate of interest, investment is going to reduce, and since investment is part and parcel of GDP, we expect GDP to reduce. And now that GDP has reduced, your income has reduced, you're going to spend less, so consumption is going to reduce. Okay, so there's that chain, and then what we are seeing is the conclusion of the whole matter is that yes, what we have derived is indeed a demand curve, because what we are seeing is there's a negative relationship between the prices and the level of income. Are we together? Okay, someone is saying we are together. Just confirm. Okay, thanks, Natasha. Thanks. All right, so now let's look at the positive change in government expenditure, but then we are going to bring in the issue to do with the long run and the short run thing. I think this is going to answer someone's question. I think that was Natasha's question. So let's suppose there's a positive increase in government expenditure, which is what we are good at. So let's suppose there's a positive change in government expenditure. So we understand that the IS curve is just going to increase because government expenditure is part and parcel of the IS curve. Okay, so this is just going to translate into a rightward shift in the IS curve, which is what we have. We know that from the ISLM model, initially we're at point A. I love graphs. Okay, so let's do with graphs. So initially we're at point A, there where my cursor is. So initially we're at point A, all was well, and the rate of interest was there. Let's call that R naught, and the output was there. Let's call that Y naught. Okay, we call that Y naught. And then the big brother is saying, no, let's increase expenditure. Let's spend more. Boom, from A to B. Chimane muliwe za park and ram. So we expect the output to increase from A to B. Okay, we expect output to increase from A to B, and because of that, we expect the rate of interest to increase. Okay, we expect the rate of interest to increase from R naught to some level there, which is negligible. Some level there. Okay, so this This is what we're saying. In the short run, we are going. So now let's just combine this ISLM curve with the short run and the long run demand and supply. So now let me talk about this.
Before we go any further, can you explain? My network is really bad.
Oh, okay.
The graph.
Oh, okay.
The graph.
Okay. So the graph here we have the ISLM, and then here we have the long run, short run, aggregate demand, aggregate supply. Here. So what we're trying to analyze here is what is the impact of the increase. Let me just say, what is the impact of expansionary fiscal policy on on the overall economic performance of any country? Okay. So what we're saying is here. Let's talk about this one. This one. So here we have the price, of course, on our vertical axis. We have output on our horizontal axis, and then we have the long run aggregate supply curve, which is fixed. Someone is wondering, why is the long run aggregate supply curve fixed? Well, it's in the long run. We've reached what we wanted, so it's going to be fixed. Okay? Because their prices would have adjusted, we reach where we want, so it's going to be fixed. Huh? But in the short run, prices are sticky. And since prices are sticky, firms are willing to supply only at the prevailing price. You can't supply more than what the price is allowing you to, or else you'll be making losses. So the short run aggregate supply curve is horizontal because firms are just going to supply at the prevailing price. So if the prevailing price is 10, you are going to supply just according to that particular prevailing price, 10. You can't supply more than that. Because I mean, if you do that, you're not going to make any profit anyway. Why should you supply more than what you expected? Really? Why? Are you trying to please somebody? No. You're a business boy, girl. All right. So the price is fixed in the short run, and because the price is fixed in the short run, we then expect the short run aggregate supply curve to be horizontal, like that. But the long run aggregate supply curve is fixed. Because we assume that this is a level of output that is more like the natural rate of output. So, even if you have some deviations and everything, in the long run you're still gonna come back. It's more like the prodigal son. Go and do what you want to do, but you're still going to come back. This is your home. All right. So I think let's now combine this with the notes. So I'm saying that in the short run, we move along the short run aggregate supply curve from point A to B. So what is happening is this: when there's an increase in government expenditure, boom, there's an increase in government expenditure. People's incomes are going to increase. Prevailing prices are, because what we're talking about is this. So M over P, but in this case, it is now. It's this whole thing is okay. So what is happening is this: because of an increase in government expenditure, your income is going to increase, and now that your income has increased, you're going to increase your demand. So that is why the aggregate demand curve is shifting from AD to AD prime there. But since the price is fixed, well, you're just going to move along the short-run aggregate supply curve. So you're going to move along the aggregate supply curve from point A to B, and that is depicted by an upward shift in the IS curve from point A to B. Let me just repeat this for the last time. What is happening, ladies and gentlemen, is an increase in government expenditure. And to understand that whenever there's an increase in government expenditure, your income is going to increase. So because your income has increased, okay, and that increase in government expenditure is depicted by an upward shift in the IS curve, okay, that is depicted by an upward shift in the IS curve from from this one to that one. And because your income has increased, we must expect you and I to demand more. So that is why the aggregate demand curve has shifted from AD1 to AD prime there, from A to B. But this whole thing is happening in the short run when prices are stuck at some predetermined level. So now, but as the output market clears, so in the long run, okay? So, but as the output market clears in the long run, the price level will automatically increase. Why increasing? Because there's an increase in demand. So let's assume let's assume Natasha sells phones, iPhones, for example. So in the short run, because of an increase in government expenditure, let's say because BC again, students are now going to demand more of the iPhones. It is in the short run. Natasha can't increase the price there and then. She's just going to say, okay, well, there's just a boom, let me sell my phones. But in the long run, she's going to say, let me take advantage of what is happening. I'm just going to increase the price of my phones. So what is going to happen is, in the long run, the price is going to adjust. So the price is going to increase from P0 to P2 there, which means the whole increase in your income, shanshan is going to slowly but sure is going to start disintegrating. Slowly but sure is going to be reducing till you reach the natural level of output, going back to where you come from. So dust to dust, from dust to dust. So what we are saying is, this positive change in the price decreases the value of real money balances. Okay, so what we are saying is, since the price has gone up, the value of your real money balances has reduced, and because of that, well, you're just going back to the same natural level of output. So now, the conclusion of our analysis is that when there's an increase in government expenditure, there's just a temporary increase in output. In the long run, output is going to get back to normal. So even if there's a boom, that's why we've got those, upward shift, economic cycles. They are those. They cyclic whatever. So the conclusion of the whole matter is, if the big brother is going to increase expenditure today, boom, 1.6 everywhere. Well, in the short run, we must expect that is if output is responding to the increase in demand. So in the short run, because let's just supply at the prevailing price, so people are going to buy more. Buy more. But what we must expect just an increase in demand, because initially, if we increase your money, you're going to start demanding more, and because of an increase in demand, in the long run, the price must adjust. So in the long run, the price must adjust, and because of that adjustment, your purchasing power is just going to reduce, which is just going to force you go back to the natural level of output, which is there along the long run aggregate supply curve there. So what we are seeing is just a movement from A, B, C. Okay. What we are seeing is you're going to get back to the natural level of output, but the price has changed. So this is why some economists are going to tell you that it's not good to do what somebody is doing. Okay? Because yes, people are going to celebrate in the short run. Dancing. But in the long run, where the repercussions are evil. Because of people's purchasing power is just going to reduce. Output remaining. So it's more like you are poor. You are consuming initially. You are able to consume 2 lamps of shima, but because of some funny things, you are now consuming 10 wambela bueno. But the repercussions of you feeling good are that instead of you being able to buy that same at least 2 lamps of shima at 2 kwacha, you are now going to be buying the same 2 lamps of shima at 100 kwacha 1. So what I'm trying to say is, an increase in government expenditure, yes, it's good, because in the short run we are going to witness some economic boom, but in the long run things are just going to shift from west to west, because you're going to maintain the same level of output, but the cost of living has increased. So yeah, it's good, but it's bad. It's good if you want to win. Okay. If you want to do something fun, it's good, but in the long run, it's really bad, because what you are doing is just increasing people's cost of living, which is not good anyway. Why? Really, why? Okay, I believe we are together, guys. Are we together? Confirm. I've been kicked out. She said there was very bad.
We're together.
Okay, thanks.
I think. Excuse me, sir.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but I think I've missed something. You said prices are sticky in the short run, right?
Yes, they are.
And that in the long run, the prices are fixed.
No. They are flexible. That is why there is that adjustment from P1 to P2.
Alright, okay. Thank you.
Okay. So what is fixed? Yes.
Mr. George.
Yes.
So what happens in the short run when you increase money supply? What happens to the price?
They are fixed. So nothing happens to
So
that.
nothing happens.
Yeah.
So there's no inflation.
No, in the short run, no. Inflation kicks in the long run. When the prices adjust, responds to the increase in demand. That's when you're going to witness inflation now. So I don't think that Zimbabwe's issues started there and then when someone was saying if we don't have money to pay back, we are going to print. I didn't start from there. That was just the beginning of the crisis. Okay? These African leaders, they are fun. If you don't have money, we are going to print. Are they printed? But if you have witnessed, guys, have you seen that the Zimbabwean dollar is now, it's trying to stand against the US dollar? Check. It's there. At least. Though it's still bad, but it has tried. It has tried. I think for the past 1 week, it's been there. It's trying. Okay? So what we are seeing is, because of an increase, okay? Because of an increase in government expenditure, output is going to increase. That is in the short run. So what we are saying is, let's look at the effects of this same increase in government expenditure. What are the effects? So I'm saying that output is going to increase because output moved from Y star to Y prime. So what we're seeing is this, because of that increase in government expenditure, output has increased from Y star. So Y star in this case is more like the natural level of output. It's more like the natural level of output. And because of the increase in government expenditure, we expect aggregate demand to shift from A to B. So output, obviously, we expect output to increase. Yes, exactly. And then the price, well, the price is not going to change. It's going to be zero because, they're stuck in the short run. Stuck at some point. Stuck there. It's in the short run. Stuck. The rate of interest, where we expect the rate of interest to increase because, well, you are increasing output. And this is the IS. This is the IS. And then there's this one-to-one relationship in the IS. Okay, an increase in output must come with a penalty, which is an increase in the rate of interest. So I expect the rate of interest to increase because a positive change in Y leads to a rise in the rate of interest as the IS slides along the LM, which is just sliding along the LM, okay, from that one to that level there, from A to B. And consumption, well, it's automatic. People are going to dance. Consumption is going to increase. Because, well, there's a positive change in output, which is going to increase consumption by that. Your disposable income has increased because of dancing to some songs, which you know. Don't know it's reverse or forward, whatever. And then, so this is what is going to happen. In the short run, well, we expect some robust. But then, well, investment is just going to reduce since the increase in the rate of interest is just going to reduce investment. Okay, so what we are seeing here, guys, is that because of an increase in government expenditure, in the short run, output is going to increase. So there's some form of deviation of output from the natural level of output to some level of output which is greater than the natural rate. But then the moment prices start at the adjustment process, output slowly but sure must go back to the natural level of output. In case you're wondering why, well, here it's more like your purchasing power is increasing, because someone is giving you free money. But then as prices start going up, your purchasing power keeps on reducing, so you're demanding less and less of the output. And because you're demanding less and less of the output, firms are responding to that. These guys have stopped demanding more, so let's cut production. So they're cutting production until the economy gets back to equilibrium there. So that is what is happening, Alright, so that is what is happening. Well, let's talk about the long run. So this is happening in the short run. Output is going to increase, prices are stuck, interest rates increasing, consumption increasing, investment decreasing. But now in the long run, output is going to be zero because it's going to get back to the natural level. So because the rise in prices shifts the LM to the left. So what we are seeing here is initially there was just an increase in the IS curve from I1 to I2. But now in the long run, because the purchasing power is reducing, we then expect the LM curve to shift upward. Because of your M over P is reducing. Because the P is increasing. Your M is stuck. Your P is increasing. Which is now going to force you to cut, to reduce your demand. Okay? So because of that, the LM curve is going to shift upwards like that. So it goes like A, B, C. Just like that. A, B, C. But then it's not just about singing A, B, C. You're supposed to know the tune for you to sing A, B, C. So the tune is, it's you are at A, and then the big brother increases expenditure. So you're moving from A to B. And then that is short run. In the long run, your purchasing power is reducing. That's the tune. The purchasing power is reducing. So because of that, you expect the LM curve to shift upward. And that is just going to lead you back where you belong. There, Y star. So the price is going to increase, that is in the long run, in order to eliminate the excess demand. Because at the short run price P naught, there's just too much demand there. Okay, so prices are going to increase so as to eliminate the excess demand. And then the rate of interest is just going to increase more. These things, man, they are very bad, man. So the rate of interest is going to increase, reflecting the leftward shift in the LM curve. So look at this, guys. I want you and I to be on the same page. So initially, the rate of interest was there, nicely. And then these people think, they just, okay, let's increase money supply. Oh, not money supply. Let's increase our expenditure. They have increased the expenditure. The rate of interest has increased from A to B, which is there. But now, because of this, the economy is responding in the long run. The economy must respond. Now, because of that response, what you're seeing is an increase in the rate of what's this? Interest. So, if this whole thing was not done, if there was no increase in government expenditure, the rate of interest would have been there. Output would have been there. Everything would have been okay. The price level would have been P naught. But because of an increase in government expenditure, what we are seeing is this bad shani that is happening there. Because the rate of interest has gone up beyond. Okay? When output has just been maintained. And consumption is going to be zero, because, I mean, you're going back to where you belong. So consumption is going to be zero, since both output and taxes are back to their initial levels. And then investment is going to reduce and reduce. Okay? Because the first reduction was when there was an increase there, which led to an increase in the rate of interest. And now, because of this adjustment process, the rate of investment has gone even more higher, which is making investment to even reduce more and more. Okay? So this is the long run analysis, and then this is the short run analysis. So you guys are supposed to know both of these analyses. You are supposed to analyze these whole stuffs in the short run. Again, you're also supposed to analyze these in the long run. So ultimately, yes, it's good to increase government expenditure, but then what matters is the investment, which is what I'm talking about. These investments must be self-sustaining. They must be self-sustaining. Invest in something that is going to generate more money. Why should you spend on something that is going to become a liability? Really, guys? Okay. So, yeah, that is that. I believe we're together. What's the time? Well, I've actually overshot. Yeah, so maybe we can end here. We're going to finish this. I think, sorry, if you wanted us to finish, because the point is this. It's not good if we just blah, we are done, and then you guys still face challenges. Then it's not making sense. Then you're getting nothing. No utility from your money. Okay, that's why I try by all means to, explain, accommodate questions, so that you guys understand. Because that's the whole purpose of tuitions. Okay? Because we are there to bridge the gap between what someone reads and what is supposed to be done. So, sorry that we couldn't finish this, but I believe we're going to finish this on Sunday, and probably look at the questions. Okay? So, do we have questions before we go? Today's a success. Yeah. Do you have questions, guys? Questions? Carol, is everything okay? Oh, I didn't get that though. Selina, questions? Mr. Banda Isaac, questions? Mwila, questions? Walia, questions?
No questions.
Oh, okay, that is perfect. Okay, guys. So